Okay, so the first 4 problems, it says refer to this figure at the right to identify each of the following, and it'll tell you what they want you to identify. So for 1, it says identify all planes that are parallel to plane DEH. So we'll just find the points DEH, and that is referring to this plane right here, that rectangle on the back. And then the plane parallel to that is this rectangle here. When you identify that plane, you just use 3 points, and it can be any 3 points. So I'm just going to say this is plane BGC. But it didn't matter which points I used. I could have said FBC or CFB. It doesn't matter. For number 2, it says identify all segments parallel to segment AB. Segment AB is right here. So segment EF would be parallel to that. And segment DC. And then segment HG, if you were to draw a plane like diagonally, would be parallel to AB as well. And then 3, all segments that intersect GH. Intersect mean they run into segment GH. So GH is back here. The segments that intersect it would be segment FG, EH, DH or HD, and segment GC. And the last one says all segments that are skewed to segment CD. So I'm just going to kind of erase things here. Skew to CD. Skew means that they would never intersect CD and they aren't parallel. So the segment I see that does that is GF. This would never run into CD. They're on separate planes. So GF is one segment. And another one would be EH. And then every other segment is either parallel or intersects. Okay, so the next type of question is we're going to identify whether the angles are alternate interior, alternate exterior, corresponding, or consecutive interior angles. They couldn't choose another bell. No. Okay, so the angle pair they mentioned first is angle 4 and 5. So I look at the picture, 4 and 5 are right here. Now, as you can see in this picture, there is more than just, there aren't parallel lines to begin with, which is what we saw in the notes. That's because tomorrow is when everything becomes parallel. Today they're just looking at the relationship. So just pretend like they're parallel lines and just look at the relationship. 4 and 5 are consecutive interior angles, and as you can see, I'm covering up the other part because it really has nothing to do with this right here. So 4 and 5 are consecutive interior angles. And then number 6, it says 5 and 11. So now we're jumping down to this portion. 5 and 11 right here are alternate exterior angles. I'm going to start abbreviating. And I'm going to just keep doing this. 4 and 6 right here. Just looking at this part, they're alternate interior angles. They're on the interior and they're alternate sides. So alternate interior. Seven and 9, alternate interior again. 2 and 8. So we have this one and this one. Again, cutting out the bottom part. We have alternate exterior. And then 3 and 6 here, those are consecutive interior. And then next, 1 and 9. Now this seems like a bit of a jump. Like, what are they getting at? Here's what they are wanting you to do, is to just pretend like this line is not even there. And then these are your parallel lines. This is your transversal. And that makes 1 and 9 corresponding angles. And then for 3 and 9, or for number 12, 3 and 9, again, pretend like this line isn't here, and that makes this alternate interior angles. Okay, erasing all this again. Okay, 6 and 12. Now we're back to normal. Alternate exterior. And then 7 and 11 are corresponding angles. So we're going to do this portion down here. Tomorrow, what they're going to do, I told you that tomorrow's lesson is very similar to this one. Tomorrow's lesson, based on the relationship between the angles, you'll have to determine whether they're the same measure or supplementary, or you may have to set equations equal to each other, that kind of thing. So that's where the jump happens tomorrow. So today we're just focusing on vocabulary and identifying those angles. So 15 is the same thing, but they want you to do one more step. They want you to identify the transversal. So here for angle 4 and 10, here, the transversal right here is G. And then 4 and 10 are alternate interior angles. (16) is 2 and 12. So 2 and 12. Again, the transversal here is G, and 2 and 12 are alternate exterior. Then 7 and 3 here. Now the transversal's J for 7 and 3. And 7 and 3 are corresponding angles. And 13 and 10, consecutive interior, and the transversal is K. And then 8 and 14, the transversal is H, and 8 and 14 are alternate interior. And then 6 and 14, those are corresponding, and the transversal is H. There's one on the back. I'm not going to have you write down anything for it, but I want to go over it because it is on the homework. So just flip your page over to the back. And this table right here. On the homework, there's 2 different problems that involve the table, so make sure you read the directions carefully. It says, find an example of parallel planes. Well, parallel planes would be like the top portion of the table and that bottom shelf create parallel planes. And then the other problem that you could get is find an example of parallel lines. Well, the legs of the table would be an example of parallel lines. And that's it. So, at this point, you can get a computer, hop onto homework 3-1. If you finish early, then work on Khan Academy until that 5-minute timer goes off.